Welcome to Cards of Insight, where we discuss all things tarot. And I'm Greg, and I live in London.
Anna here, joining you all the way from sunny Brazil.
Susan here. I'm here in Canada.
And Pavlina, greetings from London, UK.
And we are all tarot readers.
Yeah, let's move to the more serious page.
Oh,
The
the God
swords.
forgets Page of Swords, right?
Yes, the more serious one. With that fire, we're going to swords now.
Yeah, we're moving on to the Page of Swords. Page of Swords. When looking for a partner, what attributes would they seek to find desirable?
Definitely good Facebook profile picture and, good language, when they are swiping. They will definitely social media person.
A social media person, yeah, because it's a swords. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
social media. But I agree 100% with the social media, but I've seen a lot of swords people who may look for the intellectuals, but they end up falling in love with the extreme opposite.
Yeah.
The good looking, the crazy, the wants type.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. It's not a reflection of who they are, it's the extreme opposite. It's just the extreme up. It's the nerd, that falls in love with a Hell's Angels chick. Something like that. Yeah.
Do you think he could be superficial? I think he's superficial. Can be superficial.
I think he's too much in his
Like
head.
if he sees a bright bauble, right? Like what you're describing, like something, and that's what he's attracted to.
What do you mean superficial? That's what's going to, stand out because he's intellectual. So he doesn't create any protection against intellectual girls because he knows what that is. He knows how to handle that. But when he's, let's say, quote unquote, attacked by a bubbly person, he's completely vulnerable. And then he's caught.
I think if looking for the partner would be the love at the first word, right?
Yeah.
Love,
And usually not a person who is exactly like him, intellectual that likes to read or likes to investigate things. No, it might be, but not usually. Usually it's the opposite. I agree.
Yeah.
Because you would think, but because they're young, a swords tends to be good with good communications and more inside their head. They're more thinkers and people of ideas. So you would like to think that when they get a partner, it's a calculated decision, and you would think that they would be attracted to intellectual people. But like you said, Anna, then they just somehow go for something the complete opposite just because they're pretty and they've got a nice personality. But I thought they wanted someone with brains, not what you've got there. So I don't know why they would do that. Maybe it's because they're a page.
I think they would ask a lot of questions, but they don't necessarily have a lot of answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as well, if you look at that, they're looking for somebody who they saw in the past. They could be like having this image in their head of the perfection relationship. Look for the similar features because he's looking back, right, to the past. Something what he wants.
Oh, you mean in the card, in the drawing?
In the card. Something would they experience before they want to experience that again.
So he would be looking like his father, the King of Swords, is someone who has very black and white answers. And so that's what he's looking for is, answers that make sense.
I'm not sure if
I'm assuming he's asking lots of questions.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if his father is happy he's dating.
No, his father said, "What are you doing that for?"
Yeah.
You know, you're too young for that. Like, yeah. He'd
Yeah.
be shut down really quick.
You know, I also think like maybe his relationship wouldn't be stable because maybe be a bit unsure and always looking around for someone else or something better. Because in the card, in the page of swords, he's holding his swords upright, and it was mentioned earlier he's looking behind him because he's looking for something else as well. So I would, if I was dad, I would say, is that relationship gonna last? Because there seems to be changing his mind all the time. I thought you wanted somebody intellectual, and now you're dating another person. So
You know what I see in this card? I don't see him only looking at the past. It could be, but I see him fighting the wind because he is facing against the direction of the wind. So it's a defensive stance. This guy is probably the type of guy who is, they're out to get me. So if there's a girl who is not, like him, and he doesn't realize that she may be, she may enchant him somehow, he's not defensive against her and he's caught. He probably has a model of who are the people I have to fight against. I see him as a rebel in a way. He has the sword and he's saying, yes, I have the knowledge and nobody's going to get me here. He has a higher stance too. See, he's at a small mound there, so he has a higher position. But it is people that do not match what he thinks are adversaries that actually enchant him the most.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of that movie. I don't know if you watched it, Legally Blonde.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less that. You see, you don't expect people that are completely opposite of you to be the perfect partner, and that's exactly what happened. She ended up with the with the not the job, but the decent, educated, the cerebral guy in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, opposites attract.
Well, I look at the clouds in this card, and to me, he could be that could be questions that arise, but they're really, because he's younger, they're not that, they're not that serious. They're not that relevant, if you want to say, maybe a better word than that. But he swings his sword at a cloud. Well, we know you can't. It's not going to do anything if you swing a sword at a cloud. So I think he creates a lot of his own confusion. He can create a lot of confusion, or not understanding what he's asking, or if he gets an answer, he doesn't understand completely. That's why all the questions. He keeps asking questions, but he doesn't necessarily get answers that maybe make sense to him. That's why he asks more questions. So he's always looking for the right answer. Doesn't mean he gets the right answer.
if he's looking for a partner, does he actually know that he's not going to be able to commit long term because they don't really know what they want, and they're actually looking for a partner that they know will be part time? Is that a possibility?
Does he know he doesn't know? No.
Because he asks more questions than he has. Well, he's young, hey? So
Yeah, he's a page. He's not the king, but he thinks he knows. But he doesn't know.
You know what, but I think this is the only card which is showing he would elope to get married, away from the family, run away and get married. That's it.
You mean the page or all the swords?
No, just the page of swords.
Just the page.
I can see just making the quick decision. No, I'm doing it, whatever you are saying. I'm running, just going to run away.
So he's picking that cloud and that cloud and that cloud, but none of them are going to be what he really needs, because he's too young.
Yeah.
He's too young to know what he needs.
Yeah. Maybe got this idea from social media about ideal relationship, but doesn't know yet.
And I think the time he spends on social media and online will just make him more confused.
Yes.
Well, and I think any girl that he meets, he's asking her like 100 questions, and she's depending on the girl, she could be like, "Oh my God, like this is too much." He's too overwhelming, I think, with all his questions. Could chase the girls away.
Do you think he talks too much?
Yeah, I think he talks a lot.
And
Oh,
maybe too
really?
much.
Oh my
I
God, I
think he
mean,
can talk.
I think he posts regularly on the social media. Like it's like yes, you know, it's like when you put
Hmm.
those people who are like checking in the restaurant, you
well,
know,
that's
titles and so on, what they are, what they are doing
I think he asks inappropriate, nosy questions.
as well. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, like if you compare it to the ones will make a noise with his karaoke and all that malarkey. But the Page of Swords will do it in a different way. He'll do something to give himself the advantage. Like if you look in the card, he's standing on a little hill. That's to give him height so people
yeah.
can see him and hear him. So he would have a slight advantage over things because he would be a bit more tactful. He would plan it a little bit more. But in terms of coming into a partner, I'm struggling to see him committing for a long time.
Yeah, he's just a page.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how long are the relationships going to last? Because he might think he knows what he wants, and then a week later, he
Yeah.
likes something else.
Yeah. That's why the
Well,
clouds.
well,
Hmm.
wouldn't all the pages be like that?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
but
To a
I
certain
think that the swords
degree.
would be
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
yeah, to a
worst.
certain degree, yes. And it's fascinating that you see this guy speaking a lot. I don't. I see
Really?
this guy as a cerebral type.
Ah.
He's that guy, that boy. Let's put a boy, he's 6 or 7
Mm.
years old, who can spend hours in silence reading or doing things. You really don't know what he's doing, but he's so much into his ideas and his things that you
Mm.
don't need to distract him. His mind is enough for him. I don't see him as a blabber. I don't. I see the Page of Wands more as a person who talks, 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 talks.
Yeah. I think when he talks, like like if he's asked a question, say by I'll say the Page of Wands, the Page of Swords kind of, he kind of goes into defense. You ask
Mm-hmm.
that question, well, he shoots out something to defend himself, and therefore he unsettles. Like, yeah, that's where I find like he's swishing that sword, so it's a distraction.
Mhm.
Yeah, he is more incisive. He's
Yeah.
incisive, and he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't want to answer if he doesn't have an answer that will chop the enemy's head off. So
Hmm.
it's not. It's not. I'm not just saying things because I'm saying things. I know what I'm saying. They might even gather information before saying something that they know will put the enemy down. They're very serene. They think a lot, these guys. To me, at least. I mean, it's not about just saying things. It's about saying it right, and he thinks he's always right because he has thought about these things extensively in his head.
Well, I've read that he's described as being like Ellis going down the rabbit hole.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah, like he's,
interesting.
yeah. And she asks lots and lots of
Mm-hmm.
questions, but but she's not really maybe listening to the answers that come,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why she goes down the rabbit hole.
To get the answers.
Yeah, for the answers. Where if she, because it's a page, they don't necessarily listen. I think they
Mm-hmm.
they they make up their mind what they think is the right one, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time they haven't really heard the answer. So they get caught up in what's happening. That's why I think the clouds that are spinning around, it's like they're not really listening or getting through because they decide this and then they move on to something else and they haven't really thought it all the way through. They ask another question before they even take in the answer.
Is that second question related to the first question? Does it make sense what he's asking, or he just, shoots questions one after the other without considering how they're related?
I think so. I think he could get lost in his own musha.
Or as well, he could be refusing to answering the questions or listen the questions
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
being asked.
Mhm.
Do you guys want to move on to the next question?
Mhm.
Sure.
Okay. Right. Page of Swords. What sports does the Page of Swords play? Would there be a sore loser or a graceful one?
No loser, he doesn't want to lose.
Page of Swords. I don't think so. No.
Sports, fencing.
Yeah.
Fencing.
Fencing is the first one.
How appropriate. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stylish. I mean, he's not into, rough and tumble. He's not into boxing. No. There has to be some sort of, finesse.
He could dance. What do you
Yeah,
think? You think
yeah,
you think he
finesse.
could be a dancer? I think he could do ballet dancing.
And a poet and a school debater.
Mm-hmm.
One of those school or Toastmasters debating.
Yeah, we're working
Yeah, the
in a
defense.
studio too. I could see him working in a studio, adjusting the sounds and the vibrations, and for concerts and things like that,
Hmm.
for records.
Yeah.
I can see him as a hiker as well. A hiker who achieved the hill, walking, up there quite fast. Or as well, chess master, right? Or
Yes.
gamer. No, that's a sport as well, gaming, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
gaming.
I can see him
Yeah.
gaming. Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah,
can see that.
competitive. He
Yeah.
likes to be competitive.
Yeah.
But at the same time he likes to flow with others,
Yeah.
especially if he's dancing.
I'd go as far as to say if he's a gamer, he'd be doing RTS games, which is real-time strategy games where you fight in real time. It's not a game where it's the same thing. You have to fight other people, and it's called real-time strategy games. He would be, I think, really good at that. You have to be quick on the draw.
Horse riding.
Yes, horse riding.
Yeah, I don't know why. I see elite. Horse riding, fencing, chess.
Tennis. Maybe
tennis.
tennis.
Elite too. Tennis. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Badminton. Tennis,
badminton.
badminton.
Golf.
Golf. Yes. Yeah,
See?
he could be a golf player.
He's the
Parachute.
classy guy.
Jumping from the plane, parachute.
Yeah.
Ones would do that too, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why he reminds me Tom Cruise when he was on his plane. He's got his hair the same style like he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
A pilot. Thank you for that, Pavlina.
A
pilot. You'd be a pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a license.
Very
Perfect.
young
Perfect.
No, not
pilot.
yet.
Yeah.
No, he thinks he does. That's why. That's what they like. He thinks he can fly already. He's only had
Yeah.
one lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paragliding.
But yeah, hang gliding, or he could fly kites.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
I wouldn't say fishing because he hasn't got the patience, unless it's fly
No.
fishing.
No.
But in these things, he's with groups of people. So I think he likes being around people.
Oh, definitely. He can't keep his gob shut. Yeah.
I can see him
Yeah.
being as an event leader for some really good hikes, just coming on the hills and hiker. Because I can see the hill. That's how you feel when you climb up the big hill, when you
Or
do
the mountains. Like he could be a mountain climber.
Mountaineer, yeah.
Mountaineer, yes. But man, is he prepared? I mean, if he's a leader, he has it prepared a month in
No,
advance.
he's not
No, he's still a baby.
No, he would have it prepared. He's defensive. He is defensive. He looks courageous, but deep inside he's afraid of circumstances, having problems ahead. So Of course, he's not as capable and skillful as the king, but
No.
he's starting there. I mean, if he's a
He's learning
leader,
as he goes, learning
yeah,
as he goes.
hmm
And that you have to start somewhere. You have to start
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
But I have to admit, as a hike leader, I would tell him reconsider the shoes. They are high fashion
yeah,
for
yeah.
hikes. You have to go home to change the shoes.
Yes, get some good
Hmm.
boots,
Yeah.
sensible boots.
I can also see him not making a noise and being quiet, because I can also see him as a geek as well. And geeks don't make noises. They got their heads in books and stuff. So I could also see him as a geek. And if he was a geek, then he wouldn't be noisy. He would be more doing geeky things, right? Reading books, solving puzzles, getting high marks in school.
When you're
Mhm.
playing golf, you're silent because it's a
Yeah,
Hmm.
strategy game. Just
yeah.
like we talked
Yeah.
earlier about chess, it's a strategy game. And
hmm
so when you go to a golf course, you see them on TV, it's silence. Everyone is silent while the person is thinking about, taking their shot. So it's very, and which golf club am I going to use and how am I going to hit that ball? So there's a lot of mental thinking in
Mental
swinging
preparation.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot goes into it. A lot of strategy.
Hmm.
But you're still around a lot of people. So he likes that kind of, I think, being out with people. Needs that. He feeds off that, I think.
Hmm. No, I think they like being amongst people.
Yeah,
I think they would get bored by themselves.
yeah.
And because of their ability to always change, they're quite suited in that type of environment because they're very adaptable. And if they can sort of adjust accordingly to the different people they speak with, so I think they enjoy being around people.
And that also speaks to strategy because you've got to be able to change things.
Hmm.
If you hit something or take a move in chess, you've got to be able to think, okay, I'm not going there, I'm going here instead. So it's a lot of
hmm
strategy.
Yeah, and you talked about change. It reminded me of a video I watched of a kid discussing with her father that things were not the way they were supposed to be, just like an adult. And
Mhm.
it gives me the feel of a page of sword. I mean, he's young or she's young, it doesn't matter,
Mm.
but he thinks everything is wrong and he knows how to make it right if only people listened. This is the feel I get. He might be among people, but if he hears something that he thinks is wrong, he says, no, that is completely wrong. You have to study a little bit more on that before you say, just stupid things like those. Educate yourself.
I,
this is
Yeah.
this
well, and
is a difficult page of sword.
this would also show you the immaturity if he,
Yeah, I
depending on,
know.
how he talks to people. I think
Yeah.
there's where he's showing his immaturity.
Yeah.
And I think another, how can I describe it? Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Does anybody know what that is?
hmm Yeah.
Okay, it's like if just for the others in case you don't know, Dunning-Kruger effect means you think you know more about something than you do because you don't know enough about it. So because you don't know enough about it, you think you actually know more than what you really know. In other words, you're too stupid to know that you're stupid, right? That's a nasty way of putting it, right?
hmm
But it's not that bad. It's you don't have enough experience to realize you don't have enough experience. And I think that Dunning-Kruger effect, I think that Page of Swords is a little bit vulnerable to that. He might be a little bit ambitious about things because he's a page, he's young. They make good apprentices, pages, but that's what worries me a little bit about that Page of Swords. And if when it comes to sports and that, they might try and punch above their weight. But it's okay because they will learn the hard way. Um, the problem is with the ones gets hurt more times. At least the swords will learn from that, not do it again.
Yeah, and remember they're all pages, so they're all learning.
Okay, you want to move on to another one? Okay, last question. How does the Page of Swords handle compliments or criticism?
You know, it reminds me one of the famous character from Dimas Three Musketeer, D'Artagnan. He is the character. He's a D'Artagnan from Three Musketeers. Because you did say something about me. That is the challenge. My sword. See you at the moon.
I think, how would they handle compliments or criticism? I think it depends on the individual, because if the Page of Swords is learning about something, a young electrician, for example, he would want to learn. So I think criticism in that respect, they would take as constructive, because they have that want to learn. So they could probably see criticism as constructive. I think they would view it as constructive. Compliments, they may take that in the wrong way, because I was speaking earlier of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, I think their ego could get into this, because they may feel they are owed compliments. And then if they get criticized for it, then I think they would be very snitty and be, backlashing out to whoever's giving them a criticism without understanding it's really supposed to be helpful. I think it really depends how, how big of an ego they have. And being young, they could have a big ego, which until they get, it slammed underneath, that sword flips underneath their feet, then that could change things.
So they need to fall off their horse.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Well, he doesn't even have a horse at this point.
Yes,
He will.
he's not full-fledged D'Artagnan. Yeah, he's not.
He's working
Not
on it.
not
He's a
yet.
page. They're
Yeah,
working on it.
Yes.
The
not enough
pages.
yet.
Yes.
But his
Yeah.
attitude matches to him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I saw him on the hill with that sword like that, he's pretending he's a swordsman, I'd say, go and put your dad's sword back in the cupboard, naughty boy. Because it's not his sword. He's just a little bit over ambitious. He's young. He's only had one sword lesson. Now he's taking his dad's sword out. You better not let your dad see you with that sword. Put it back. That's what I'd say to him.
Yeah, I don't see humility here. I don't know about you, but I don't see humility. It's something that he has to learn in order to accept compliments and to accept criticism. If he has humility, then I could see that as he matures
Yeah.
as a page.
Because how you take a compliment can be very personal to the individuals. But a lot of times speaking of it is like more of a generically what the traits of a sword.
I think when the girl would say, "Oh, you look nice today," say, "Oh yes, let's exchange social media contacts. And that's it. Add me on Facebook or somewhere else." When she says, "No, I'm not interested in you," it's like, "What did you say?"
I think it depends. I'm gonna be Libra here. I think it really depends on who is giving the compliment and who is giving the criticism. Because if he truly admires somebody, truly, he's my guru or he's whoever, and that person criticizes him, is going to be completely down. He's going to listen to it. That's going to hurt him deeply, and he's going to evaluate the criticism and most probably change. Same thing with compliments. If it's a person he admires and loves dearly, because all these pages love, right? He will take it and get all get all happy and dance and go to the moon back. But it depends. It really depends on who is doing it. It's not just any person. It has to be a person who has a high esteem, or a person he truly, truly cares about.
I think at a golf course, if he strikes a good ball or gets a hole in one, then he feels very, the crowd clapping around him would be compliment, and he would love that. But at the same time, if he misses the shot, he could have a hard time with be self-criticism about himself, or the criticism of the sports people around him about his shot. I think he would have a harder time at it.
Wouldn't he
He'd
his
be very critical
worst?
of himself.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
would hate himself for making that mistake. He demands a lot of
Yes.
himself too.
Yep.
He doesn't forgive his mistakes, his own mistakes.
Yep.
Perfectionists.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfectionists, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and follow us. And feel free to leave a comment.